Welcome everybody. This is Software Equity Group's fourth virtual coffee with SEG. Super excited today. I've got two of my dear friends and also two former clients, Ash and Sham, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. But first, guys, Sham, since you just took that big gulp of your coffee, cheers.
Cheers.
It's great to see you. I think something might be broken with my Zoom because there's a button that says you can touch up, and you guys look a lot better than I do. So I think I might need to have a conversation with Zoom. So why don't we start with this? So you guys are running a company, software company, OfficeSpace. We worked together last year. What you guys are hearing in the industry today, I think is very relevant for many companies that are looking to go and return back to the office. So I'm thrilled to have you with us here. Why don't we start with the quick introductions to yourselves and your business?
Sure, I'm Shamim Sahba, and I'm one of the co-founders of OfficeSpace Software. Ashkon is the other here, and it's about 12 years ago. It's hard to believe. We both kind of actually stumbled onto the field of facility management, but we both came from a product development and product design background. We got into at the time that we approached this market, there was really no tools that kind of really helped manage the workplace in a very kind of a straightforward, easy manner that would also provide a tremendous employee experience for folks within an organization. So we started down this journey about 12 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. And so here we are. Excellent.
Ash?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. This is Ash, also co-founder at OfficeSpace. Yeah, just to echo what Shani was saying, I think neither of us entered this space with a passion for it, but recognize that there is something that we could add very early on. And in fact, I think it's longer than 12 years ago. The time's running away from us now. But we're in an industry right now that is, so the facilities management space or workspace world has been quite static for a number of years. And one reason that we started working with early on was about a year ago, we felt like things were starting to change pretty dramatically. There's significant opportunities opening up. And that has become exaggerated recently with what we're all experiencing through the pandemic. And so this industry has become extremely dynamic recently, and it's fun to try and problem solve at the pace that we need to right now. And we feel that OfficeSpace generally has the opportunity to do something good and interesting.
So I mean, a lot of offices today, even our office, is almost a bullpen type of an environment. And clearly, if we were to bring people back today, everybody would be sitting right next to one another. We have the social distancing 6 feet apart. Is it, well, I'm going to have people come back in phases. Maybe these are the Monday, Wednesday crew. This is the Thursday, Friday crew. Fridays are off or whatnot. Is it a reconfiguration of the layout? What's common there? What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're finding a whole combination. So it's all of the above in a way. So one is determining what are the regulations you want to distance by. So the 6 foot standard is, you want to distance by at least that much. So one part of it is really looking at your layout and seeing how much reconfiguration is necessary. People aren't opening their entire space. So there's going to be deciding what are the areas we're going to close and really kind of ease your way back into your space. So part of it is my current desk assignments. Are they within a safe distance of each other? If they're not, there's different kind of strategies you can employ. So one is, as you described, is really a shift-based strategy, which is pretty, there are many folks who are trying that out, where you'd assign kind of a set of desks that you will see that they're actually distanced apart and call that shift A, and then the alternate set of those desks is sort of shift B, and perhaps take out of use some of the other spaces and desks that are not there, and then kind of people are looking at shifts in different regards as well. So you've got come in Mondays and Wednesdays, and the other shift is Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's some who are thinking about it in weeks. So the first 2 weeks, you know, shift A, and the second week is shift B, and so on. There's variations that we're seeing in that realm. There's also, you know, a large movement and interest towards going more towards flexible seating options. So this was pre-pandemic. We were seeing some natural trends towards more and more providing a kind of a combination of assigned desks and kind of more flexible desking arrangements for the workplace. Post-pandemic, there's certainly an acceleration of that timetable, a significant, you know, uptick of interest in people looking at different flexible seating options in that mix. So
I think everybody's thinking about this in phases. So fundamentally, if you're planning on returning to the office, certainly the bigger companies, they're definitely thinking about doing it in phases, where phase one would be, you know, essential people who need to be back. What's really interesting is if you think about who would, if I had thought previously who would be deemed essential, you'd think of people whose jobs were critical to the business interests. But in fact, some of our clients are defining those essential people to come back in phase one as those who have very terrible home working conditions, right? They can't continue to operate out of their own environment, so they need access to the office. So this is an interesting notion. It's not so much about what's critical to the company; it's about what's critical to the employees in terms of the return. The other thing that's interesting is in these phases, there's kind of the near term. We're hearing over and over from many of our clients, look, productivity has been surprisingly good from home, much better than they expected. So that feeling of urgency to force everyone back to the office typically isn't there for the vast majority of our clients. Again, you need to accommodate those who haven't been able to be productive, but that's a small subset relative to what was expected. And so this has bought people time. But the other challenge is, and you know, our clients are doing amazing things. They're surveying their clients on happiness, for example. You know, they're trying to gauge how sustainable this working from home is. I think one danger that we're all exposed to, and this is true at OfficeSpace too, is that we see a spike in productivity because of this compressed nature of the way everybody's working in this COVID environment. My feeling, and I think a lot of our clients feel, that this is perhaps an artificial spike, that it's not sustainable, that it's fine for now, but this isn't normal work from home. This is COVID work from home.
Right.
And there's a distinction there, right?
Any guesses on, hey, this is something we're going to see 3 to 5 years from now that's a direct result of COVID-19?
I mean, so much of this and how much the changes and how quickly the changes will come will depend on how quickly there is a vaccine, how quickly there is a return to whatever that, and it's an overused term for sure, but that new normal will look like. There's no question that the remote work, acceptability of remote work and being able to tool people to be able to do more remote work is going to continue. There's a lot of, I think technology wise, there's a lot of movement towards that, but there's also no question that there's value in being on premise, and there's just a lot of industries and things that you can't build a car entirely remotely, not in the next 2-3 years anyway. But yeah, so I think as far as technologies, I think that there's certainly going to be continued drive of kind of sensors and tying that in, and there's going to be a big debate around privacy and kind of being able to track people, because sensors and technology can do a lot of things. We're seeing this already. We have, sensor companies that they capture too much information, and they're needed to sort of tone that down, because a sensor can actually tell your temperature as you walk around the office. It's possible to know this person has a fever, but what to do with that? I mean, again, the technology to have that information is here today, and we have access to it. But what that's going to mean as it plays out culturally is going to be an interesting question. And also I think there's a bit of a balance to be made between how do you provide safely for your employees, and how do you take an employee first approach towards making sure that your employees are absolutely safe and they have the tooling that they need and the options that they need to do well. And at the same time, how do you manage that remotely, right? How do you onboard people remotely carefully? How do you, so I think that there's a lot up in the air for sure, and it will depend on a lot of different factors. But I think you can see certain trends that are definitely emerging here.
So
sorry, I'll also add just that I think if anything is clear, it's that the new work environment, the new workspace is going to have to be extremely well wed to technology, so that if you're at the office, it's just as easy to interact with the physical person who's at the conference room with you as it is with the remote employees, and that the tooling to allow a really tight integration between the physical world and the digital world for productivity is going to be what's driving the new modern workplace.
If I were a SaaS company today, I'm not in this space and I'm looking to move back into my office, and I'm the CEO. What are the couple things that you're going to tell me? Hey, this is important. You need to think about, or you should think about 1 and 2. And that could be based on what you're hearing from some of your larger customers.
Yeah, I think I'd say that, the optics of a safe environment are critical at this time. So be mindful of how you project to your employees what you're doing. Make sure that those things are communicated extremely well. That you don't promise them a safe environment, but you promise them that you've mitigated the risks this way, and that if they're comfortable with those, that they should feel safe coming to the office, right? I think so much of this will come down to people's appetite to return, and so much of it will be based on how willing they are to get close to one another again. And the best that we can do is create an environment where they feel safe and that they can be highly productive.
Great answer. Good luck, Sham.
Oh, I should speak too? Okay, sorry. I thought that answer covered it. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Ash. I mean, I think the key is, the first thing to look at is how do you actually make the office safe, as safe as possible. I mean, and how do you plan that out, and how do you approach that gradually? The one thing I would say is that initially, in our experience, there are people who were concerned about setting limits to how many people can actually come into the office. So looking at a 25% occupancy for this building or by floor, and they were looking to kind of, how do I enforce that? And the reality was, the moment they opened it up, a fraction of the people that they thought came. So that it wasn't a problem to try and limit people. People are obviously, they're going to be very cautious and guarded in coming in to see how that's going to work out. And so it's really more about, how do you really kind of just plan to really make the place safe and be able to communicate what you've done and what the plan is clearly to people. And we're feeling people are being very creative in how to do that and using different kind of tools to do that. But I think it's one of those things where you really, once you've made it safer, and you can then learn from that experience and go from there.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I think this was super insightful and will be very helpful for many folks out there. So cheers. It's always fun to chat with you guys and get caught up, since we're not talking daily or hourly anymore. I really do appreciate you taking the time. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Alan.
Great to speak with you.
Likewise.